Your green card interview is coming up and you still don't know what documents to bring. Let me tell you right now, that is one of the most dangerous situations you can be in. Every single year, thousands of applicants show up to their USCIS interview without the right documents and the officer sends them home. Not with a green card, with a denial letter. Don't let that be you. Before we go any further, I need you to do one thing right now. Look at the bottom of your screen. Do you see that subscribe button? Click it. Then click the bell icon so you get notified every single time we post. Because the content we're about to cover in this video could be the difference between you getting your green card this year or waiting another 2 or 3 years. That is not an exaggeration. That is exactly what happens when people miss critical information. Welcome back. This is US Visa Info, your #1 source for the latest and most accurate immigration updates. In today's video, we are going over the top 10 documents that USCIS officers are requesting at green card interviews in 2026. We are going to walk through each document one by one, explain exactly why it matters, tell you what officers are actually looking for, and show you how to avoid the mistakes that cause denials. This information is updated for 2026 and reflects the most current USCIS standards and procedures. Watch this entire video. If you leave early, you will miss the section on common mistakes that is causing real denials right now, and I do not want that to happen to you. Let me be clear about something. USCIS has significantly tightened its document review process starting in 2026. Officers are spending more time examining what applicants bring to interviews. They are cross-referencing documents with federal databases, including IRS records, Social Security Administration records, and Department of Homeland Security files. This is extremely time-sensitive information. The days of showing up with a basic folder and winging it are completely over. If you are scheduled for an interview in the next few weeks, or even the next few months, you need to start preparing right now. Here is what you need to understand about why this matters so much. The green card interview is not just a formality. It is a full investigation into your identity, your history, your relationship status, and your financial situation. Officers have the authority to deny your application on the spot if something does not add up. And here is the part that nobody is talking about. In 2026, USCIS officers are being trained to ask deeper follow-up questions based on the documents you bring. If your documents are incomplete, out of date, or inconsistent with your application, that is a red flag that can trigger a full case review. A case review adds months, sometimes more than a year, to your wait time. That is a reality you cannot afford to ignore. Whether you are a family-based applicant, an employment-based applicant, or someone adjusting status from inside the United States, these 10 documents apply to you. Whether you are a spouse of a U.S. citizen, a sponsored employee, or a diversity visa winner, this information is critical. Whether your interview is next week or 3 months from now, pay close attention to every document we cover because missing even one of them could cost you everything you have worked for. Now let's get into the first document on our list, and this one seems obvious, but you would be shocked at how many people get this wrong. The first document is your valid passport and all of your old expired passports. Your passport is your primary identity document at the interview. Officers will check that your name, date of birth, and country of birth match exactly what is on your immigration application. But here is why old passports matter just as much. Your expired passports show your entire travel history. Officers can see every entry and exit stamp, every visa you have ever held, and every country you have visited. If you traveled somewhere and did not disclose it on your application, that inconsistency can lead to serious credibility issues. Bring every passport you have ever had, even if it expired 20 years ago. The second document is your birth certificate, and it must be an official government-issued document. A photocopy is not enough. Your original birth certificate, or a certified copy from the government office that issued it, is required. If your birth certificate is not in English, you must also bring a certified translation. The translation must be done by a qualified translator who certifies that the translation is complete and accurate. If you were born in a country where birth certificates are not commonly issued, USCIS has specific procedures for alternative documents, but you need to talk to an immigration attorney about that before your interview. Do not assume they will accept a baptismal record or a school record in place of a birth certificate without prior guidance. The third document is your national identification card or any government-issued ID from your home country. Many applicants forget this because they are focused on their passport, but officers may ask to see your national ID as an additional identity verification tool. This is especially true for applicants from countries where national IDs show different information than passports. Bring it. Even if you are not sure they will ask for it, having it in your folder shows that you are prepared and transparent. The fourth document is your marriage certificate, and this one is absolutely critical if you are applying as a spouse. Your marriage certificate must be a certified original document. It must show both your name and your spouse's name exactly as they appear on your immigration paperwork. If you were married in a foreign country, you need a certified copy of the foreign marriage certificate along with a certified English translation. Here is where it gets important. If there are any name discrepancies, for example, if your name was spelled differently at the time of your marriage than it is on your passport today, you need supporting documentation that explains that discrepancy. A simple notarized statement of name change or a legal name change document can resolve this. Do not walk into your interview hoping the officer will figure it out on their own. Quick question. Are you subscribed yet? Because missing updates like this could literally cost you your green card. If you are watching this video for the first time and you found this information helpful, hit that subscribe button right now. We post daily immigration updates and we cover exactly the kind of content that can help you avoid costly mistakes. One missed update could mean one missed deadline, and one missed deadline in immigration can set you back years. Subscribe right now and turn on that bell icon. The fifth document is your divorce decree or dissolution of marriage certificate, and this one applies to you even if you got divorced decades ago. If you have ever been married before, you must bring proof that every previous marriage was legally ended. That means a divorce decree, an annulment, or a death certificate for a deceased spouse. USCIS officers are trained to look for any overlap in marriage dates. If there is even one day where your previous marriage was technically still legal when your current marriage happened, your current marriage could be considered legally invalid, and an invalid marriage is a fraudulent marriage in the eyes of USCIS. That is a finding that can permanently bar you from receiving a green card. So go through your records carefully. Make sure every prior marriage has a proper legal ending document, and bring originals or certified copies to your interview. The sixth document is the Form I-693, which is the Report of Medical Examination and Vaccination Record. This form must be completed by a USCIS-approved civil surgeon. You cannot get this done by your regular doctor. You must find a USCIS-designated civil surgeon, and you can find one using the USCIS website. The I-693 has a validity period, and in 2026, USCIS is strictly enforcing this. If your medical exam was completed more than 2 years ago, it may no longer be valid, and you will need a new one before your interview. A new medical exam costs between $400 and $500 on average, depending on your location and your doctor. Some cities are more expensive. Do not wait until the week before your interview to schedule this. Civil surgeons often have waiting lists of several weeks. Schedule your appointment as soon as possible and make sure your vaccination records are complete and up to date. The seventh document is your Affidavit of Support, which is Form I-864, along with the financial evidence that supports it. The Affidavit of Support is a legally binding contract where your sponsor promises the U.S. government that you will not become a public charge. In 2026, USCIS officers are reviewing these financial documents very carefully. Your sponsor must demonstrate income at or above 125% of the federal poverty guidelines for their household size. For a household of 2 people, that threshold in 2026 is approximately $24,650 per year. For a household of 4, it is approximately $31,900 per year. Officers will want to see the sponsor's most recent federal tax return, their W-2 forms, their most recent pay stubs, and an employment verification letter. If your sponsor's income does not meet the requirement, you will need a joint sponsor, and that joint sponsor must also provide a complete I-864 with all supporting financial documents. Missing financial documents is one of the top reasons for interview continuances, meaning the officer tells you to come back later with the correct paperwork. That can add months to your case. The eighth document is evidence of your bona fide relationship, and this one is mostly for marriage-based green card applicants. Let me tell you something right now. USCIS officers are not going to simply take your word for it that your marriage is real. You need to prove it with hard evidence. The more evidence you bring, the stronger your case looks. And here is what officers are actually looking for. They want to see that you and your spouse are building a life together. That means joint bank account statements showing regular activity, a lease or mortgage in both of your names, utility bills with both names, health insurance showing your spouse as a covered dependent, joint car insurance policies, joint tax returns if you have filed them together, and photographs. Officers like to see photographs from different points in your relationship: holidays, family gatherings, travel, everyday moments. Bring anywhere from 20 to 50 photos organized in a small album or a clearly labeled folder. Do not just hand the officer a random pile of loose pictures. That looks disorganized and unprepared. Before we continue, let me tell you something important. Last month, thousands of green card applicants went to their USCIS interviews without adequate relationship evidence and walked out without an approval. Some of them waited years to get to that interview. They thought their love was enough. But USCIS is not in the business of feeling. They are in the business of verifying. The difference between people who walk out with an approval and people who get sent home is preparation. And the way you stay prepared is by following channels like ours. If you are not subscribed, do it right now. We will keep you updated every single day on what USCIS is looking for and how to give them exactly what they need. The ninth document is your tax returns and any IRS records related to your time in the United States. If you have been living in the US while waiting for your interview, you are required to have filed taxes for every year that you were legally required to do so. Officers will ask about your tax filing history, and they have access to IRS records. If you did not file when you were supposed to, you need to address that before your interview. This could mean filing back taxes with the IRS, getting a certified transcript of your tax history, or having an explanation ready for why you were not required to file. Do not assume the officer will not notice. They will notice. And unexplained gaps in your tax history are a serious red flag that can trigger additional scrutiny or even a denial. The 10th document is your complete set of original USCIS notices and case documents. This includes your I-797 Notice of Action for every application you have ever filed, your original I-130 Approval Notice if you are in a family-based case, your I-485 Receipt Notice showing your case is pending, your Priority Date Confirmation, and any correspondence you have received from USCIS related to your case. Officers use these documents to verify that your case is in the right status and that there are no holds, requests for evidence, or flags on your file. If you lost any of these documents, you can request copies through the USCIS website or by calling the USCIS Contact Center at 1-800-375-5283. Request replacements as soon as possible because processing that request takes time. Join our community of over 15,000 immigrants who stay informed every single day. Subscribe right now and drop a comment below telling us where you are watching from. We love hearing from our community, and if you have a specific question about your green card interview, drop it in the comments and we will do our best to answer it. We read every comment, and sometimes we make entire videos based on your questions. So subscribe, comment, and let us know you are out there. Now let's talk about the enhanced scrutiny points that USCIS is applying in 2026, because this is something that very few channels are covering, and you need to understand it before you walk into that interview room. Officers in 2026 have real-time access to multiple federal databases during your interview. They can look up your Social Security records to verify your work history. They can check your IRS tax transcripts, They can pull your travel history from Customs and Border Protection, and they can see any prior immigration violations, visa denials, or enforcement actions on your record. Here is the critical part. If anything you say in your interview does not match what is in those databases, the officer will notice immediately. This is why you need to review your own records before the interview. Request your SSA earnings record, print your USCIS account case history, check your tax filing history with the IRS. Make sure everything is consistent with what you put on your application. Pay close attention to this part. Officers are also trained to ask questions about your social media accounts and your online presence. While they may not demand your passwords, they can review public profiles. If your Instagram shows you and your spouse living in separate states for 2 years, but you claimed you lived together, that is a problem. If your Facebook shows you attending events in another country during a period when your application says you were in the United States, that is a problem. Be consistent across every platform and every document. Now let's talk about exceptions and special cases, because not every applicant fits the standard mold, and USCIS has specific rules for these situations. If you are a student on an F1 visa adjusting to permanent resident status, you must bring your I-20 form, your university enrollment verification, and proof of continuous full-time enrollment if that was a requirement of your status. If you work abroad for a U.S. company and travel frequently, bring your employment contracts, travel logs, and letters from your employer confirming your work assignments. If you are caring for an elderly parent in your home country, and that required extended travel, bring medical records for the parent and documentation showing the care situation. If you have a serious medical condition that affected your ability to meet certain requirements, bring documentation from a licensed physician explaining the situation. USCIS does have compassion for documented exceptional circumstances, but you must document them. Saying it is not enough. Proving it is what matters. Here are your action steps, and I want you to treat this like a checklist you complete right now, not next week. First, mark your calendar for your interview date and count backwards 90 days. You should begin collecting all your documents at least 90 days before your interview. 90 days is not too early. For many people, it is barely enough time. Second, gather all 10 categories of documents we covered today. Start with the ones that take the longest to obtain, which are the medical exam, the financial documents, and any certified copies of foreign documents that need translation. Third, review your USCIS application carefully. Go through your I-485, your I-130, and any other forms you filed. Make sure your interview answers will be consistent with what those forms say. If you notice any errors or inconsistencies, consult with an immigration attorney immediately. Fourth, consult with a licensed immigration attorney or accredited representative before your interview. Even one session with a professional can help you identify gaps in your documentation and prepare you for the questions an officer will likely ask. The average attorney consultation costs between $100 and $300. That is a small price compared to a denial and the years of waiting that come with it. Never walk into your interview room unprepared. Do not assume that being truthful is enough without the documents to prove your truth. Avoid bringing loose, disorganized papers in a plastic grocery bag. Organize your documents in clearly labeled folders or tabs. Never lie to a USCIS officer. That is not just a bad strategy. It is a federal crime that can result in permanent inadmissibility and criminal charges. Never submit documents that are expired or out of date without knowing whether they are still acceptable. When in doubt, get a fresh copy. Let's talk about the most common mistakes I see people make, and I want you to pay very close attention here because these mistakes are preventable. The first common mistake is missing the medical exam deadline. Your I-693 has a specific validity window, and if it expires before your interview, you will need a new one. Schedule it early and confirm the validity date with your civil surgeon before your interview. The second common mistake is not bringing originals. Photocopies are not enough for most documents. You need originals or certified copies. Always bring your original documents and offer to leave a certified copy if the officer needs one for the file. The third common mistake is forgetting prior marriages. I see this happen more than you would believe. People forget to disclose an old marriage from 20 years ago, and when the officer finds it in the database, the whole interview falls apart. Think carefully about your entire relationship history before you sit down for that interview. The fourth common mistake is submitting an affidavit of support with old tax returns. Your sponsor must provide the most recent year's tax return. If the sponsor filed their taxes recently, use that return. Officers are specifically looking for recent financial data, not returns from 3 or 4 years ago. The fifth common mistake is not addressing name discrepancies. If your name has ever been spelled differently on any document, you need a legal explanation document ready. Do not hope the officer does not notice. They will notice. The sixth common mistake is underestimating the relationship evidence requirement. Many couples think 5 or 10 photos and one bank account is enough. In 2026, officers are looking for a pattern of shared life over time. The more years of evidence you can provide, the better your case looks. Regarding your timeline and what to expect, green card interviews in 2026 are generally taking between 20 and 40 minutes for straightforward cases. If your case is more complex, if there were prior visa violations, prior denials, criminal history, or multiple prior marriages, expect the interview to last longer and expect more detailed questioning. Best case scenario, the officer approves your case on the spot and you receive your welcome notice within 2 to 3 weeks. Typical scenario, the officer takes your documents and says they will complete a review, which means your case is sent for additional processing that can take 30 to 90 days. Worst case scenario, the officer issues a request for evidence, known as an RFE, or schedules a second interview. If you receive an RFE, respond within the deadline provided, which is typically 87 days. Missing that deadline means your application is automatically denied. Looking ahead, USCIS is expected to continue tightening interview standards throughout the remainder of 2026. There are discussions about expanding in-person biometrics requirements and adding new questions about social media history to the interview process. These changes are not final yet, but our team is monitoring them closely. There are also proposed updates to the public charge guidelines that could affect the financial thresholds for the Affidavit of Support. We will cover all of those changes on this channel as soon as they become official, so make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss a single update. Here are your 3 key takeaways from this video. Number 1. Your green card interview in 2026 requires 10 categories of documents, and missing even one of them can delay or deny your case. Number 2. USCIS officers now have real-time access to multiple federal databases, so your documents and your answers must be consistent with your official records. Number 3. Preparation should begin at least 90 days before your interview, and consulting with a licensed immigration attorney before your interview is one of the smartest investments you can make. This is extremely time-sensitive. If your interview is coming up, do not wait another day to start pulling these documents together. Go down the list we covered today one by one. Check each one off as you gather it. Review every document for accuracy and consistency. And if you are not sure about something, ask a professional before you walk into that room. Subscribe if you have not already. Share this video with every immigrant you know who is waiting for a green card interview. This information could literally change the outcome of their case. Drop a comment below telling us what country you are applying from and which document you found most challenging to prepare. We read every single comment and we want to help you through this process. Stay informed, stay compliant, and remember, your dream is possible if you follow the rules. This is US Visa Info, keeping you updated every single day.